So I know that this channel is usually supposed to be kind of lighthearted. I generally just post like Overwatch things, funny stuff with like friends and everything. I want to take a slightly different approach with today's thing. I guess just because I've been feeling really bothered by something. Essentially, something that I haven't talked about that much on this channel at all, because there's really no reason to talk about it, is the fact that this has been an exceptionally difficult year of my life, or the past year of my life has been really difficult. I lost my mother 7 months ago. 7 months ago. Coming up, at least, it's gonna be 7. After about a 7 or 8 year fight to cancer. And I, like, normally whenever I'd bring that up, I'd talk about like the whole struggle of the past 7 years of like hospital visits and like chemotherapy and everything like that. And that's sure, like, I guess that I could talk about that at a different time or anything, but that's not really, I guess, what I'm talking about here. The thing is that I think what's really kind of driving into me right now is the fact that I'm not happy where I am in my life right now. Or I'm not happy with life anymore. It's this kind of weird feeling that I don't even know exactly how to put a description into. The idea of like, I know that I'm gonna keep driving through life, and that I'm gonna complete my life, and I'm gonna be as successful as I can be and stuff like that, and attempt to find a different route with it. But the weird thing about loss, or about going through something so detrimental, you know, like losing a parent, especially, I mean, my mom and I were essentially, she was like my best friend. It was pretty much how close we were. We had a pretty difficult time as a family growing up, so a lot of people do. But I kind of like, I clung to her a lot through my life, and then it was kind of this sort of thing where it's like, because just being a kid, teenagers, everything like that was so shitty, and like going through somebody having cancer. Dog's barking. Hopefully you can't hear that. If you can, it's whatever. This is kind of a impromptu thing, but the thing is that I really clung to her as a person, and I kind of had this idea in my mind, you know, that after completing these like really shitty early years of my life, I could move forward into a lot more stuff that I was going to be able to show her. I originally had a lot more planned for my life. I mean, I'd wanted to go through college, and I wanted to see my family at, you know, my university graduation someday under the giant, like, teleprompter and everything, and I wanted to have kids. I wanted to get married. I don't even know to who, when, what situation would make sense. I mean, I had different job ideas in my head. I had a different drive for stuff that I just don't have anymore. And oh god, my stomach. But I guess it's like, it's really difficult to pinpoint exactly when something just, no, it's not actually, it's not at all difficult to pinpoint. I kind of snapped in this mode. The thing is that I found out a day after my birthday this past summer. I turned 19, and the day after I came downstairs, and my mom and dad and everything sat me and my sister down, and we essentially like had to sort of, we had the news broken to us that she found out like a couple days before that she went terminal, and she had known for a little while but just didn't know how to bring it up or anything, or I think she had found out that morning even. I don't really know. There's like multiple versions of it that kind of roll through my head a lot with a lot of things this summer, and it was calm down. It was probably the absolute worst summer of my life. The thing is that it was the worst summer of my life, but it also wasn't even the worst part of her going through the fight of things. I mean, there were so many times before where she was just in the hospital, and I prepared myself so many times before in my life that she would die. I had kind of like, there were so many times where we were in hospitals or where I was just in waiting rooms. I can't even tell you that I probably could relay the layout of every hospital in the Midwest that treated cancer patients and like mass surgeries, just because I was in so many of them just over the course of like almost a decade. And I walked up and down the hallways of every school, and I would memorize every sign and like placement of chair and plants and people's faces and stuff that I saw. And it's like, the thing is that I had to use anything to distract myself from the fact that I knew there was a very high chance of her dying. A year before she died this summer, and before she went terminal, she actually had a brain tumor that popped up. That was around when I was about to go to prom in high school. So where everybody else in high school, whenever they went to prom, they were like, I don't know, their parents were taking pictures of them on their stairwells, and they were like, oh, it's the last high school thing before college and stuff like that. I was in a hospital room in my tuxedo with a couple of friends who came by and decided they would take pictures in the hospital for my mom, because all that she wanted through the course of everything was just simple things like that. She really just kind of like, she was really driven on very basic, like, maternal things or parental things, whatever, just like the idea of raising a family with all the things that come with it, of like prom pictures and people's first dates and like football games and stuff. And it's like, a lot of that she couldn't have because it wasn't stuff that was really interesting me, and I was so preoccupied with what was happening at home, what was happening with her, that I was never really apt to do a lot of stuff. I just kind of kept to myself, or I just did really like small things. And prom was supposed to be the first really big thing and the last really big thing that I was going to be doing, and the fact that it had to be spent in a hospital. I mean, I went to prom that night. I went with people I had to date. Everything was like, all my friends are there, and everybody was really supportive of the fact that everybody knew that my mom was in the hospital. But the whole day, the issue was that she had a brain tumor that was growing, and they couldn't get her an EMT to the larger hospital in the capital here, which was hours away. And it was this constant feeling that at some point I would have to get up from prom and go and like drive to this hospital, that I was throughout the entire night expecting some sort of phone call that there was a complication. I mean, at any minute she could have had a brain hemorrhage and died. She could have had anything happen. And it was the first time that she directly sat me down too and told me that she thought she was going to die, and that she didn't think that she was going to make it, and that she wanted me to just continue to like drive forward in my life and keep doing stuff. And that's really hard to hear from somebody that you constantly just see as this sort of like untouchable person. I mean, a lot of people don't really acknowledge it. I think maybe some people just don't have good relationships with their parents, and like that's said, but there's always somebody in your life, no matter how good or bad of a person, no matter how much you don't acknowledge your emotions, or you think you're too much of a hard ass for it or something like that. Everybody has a person in their life that means that much to them. It doesn't even have to be a parent. It's just somebody, and the idea of that you see them is that they are never going to go anywhere, that's never going to change, and you have so much time left with them. And the reality is that you probably don't. Maybe you do. I mean, I hope for all of your sakes that anybody watching this that has that person in their mind, that person's there for decades and decades of your life, even longer if possible. I don't know, but because I don't want anybody to ever go through what I've gone through already. But going past that, I know, I guess I said I wasn't really going to talk about before the actual loss of her, but that is, I guess, what this kind of turned into. The thing is that going forward, I kind of realized that there's this whole part of me and this whole idea of what my life was before. I mean, when you think back in your head, you can imagine your childhood, and you can have this sort of feeling of nostalgia that you can bring back to your mind when you just sort of want to go back a little bit for a second. The difference between that with a lot of people and with myself is that when I go back to that, there's no trace of that left now, because it died with my mother. My entire childhood and my whole life before 7 months ago, August 16th to August 19th, around that time frame, 2016, none of that's alive anymore, and none of that matters, and I can never go back to that, and I can never be that person again. It's a really difficult thing to know that somebody's not coming back, I think. It's unfathomable, and I had so much time this year to just try to register that and to try to understand that she's not going to be coming back. And the thing is that I registered before it even happened that she wasn't coming back. I know she's not coming back. I know how death works, and I know how the world works. I get it. But to try to wrap your head around that, and to try to comprehend something as large as that big of a loss in your life, when you have somebody that you talk to every single day about everything, no matter what. I mean, when I was away at university for a year, I called her almost every day just because this is my mom. I wanted to keep her up on my life, and I wasn't making a lot of friends at school, and I was struggling with some of my classes with I was in a game design course for about a year. It was so disinteresting to her. She had no idea what I was talking about, but she just wanted to hear about it every day because it was just, she was always interested in what I was doing. And the thing is that it's like, I'm not really even sure. I don't know if I'm a religious person at all. I'm not religious. I don't even know if I'm spiritual. The thing about loss like this is that it really breaks a lot of anything that was left in you that's like a light that you have some sort of faith. I mean, I'm glad if it helps some people. I'm glad if it makes people feel a little bit easier about things, but it doesn't help me, and I don't really think anything at the moment. And that in itself is one of the darkest and most brutal facts of my existence, I think, is the realization that there's really, it feels at least like there's no meaning to myself, and there's no meaning to being here, and nothing really has meaning past this baseline human existence that does have meaning. I mean, while we're here, while we exist in this time period, it's the only time that any of us are going to exist individually. I mean, we're never going to exist again after this lifetime. We don't get to, I mean, maybe if, whatever, reincarnation, whatever, if that's right, then I'll eat my own words. But like, generally speaking, you don't get to come back. And so this is just it. And the fact that her existence just is it, and it's over, and my existence someday is going to be like that. And it's like, I don't want to be reduced to a container of ashes or to a tombstone just sitting somewhere in the corner of a graveyard or something. But everybody will, and nobody really wants to, but we're all going to be someday. And it's like, I'm struggling with this. I don't know. I'm struggling with moving forward from things. It's been 7 months, and I feel like I should at this point have moved forward with stuff, or I should have moved on or been over it. And it's like, nothing in me is over it yet. And every time that I think I am, it's just like, I can't help but feel like I was in shock for a few months after it happened. I spent some of those hours just really casual. I was hanging out with friends. I was having a good time. I was on Discord and Skype and playing video games with people and doing a lot of stuff like that. And I didn't think about it. I mean, I would be upset and things would pop up, but I never really thought about it. And now all of a sudden I feel like it's just hitting me like this ton of bricks that it happened. I tell this to people a lot, but my hair is going silver at 19, almost 20. I'm going gray out of stress because, according to all of the doctors and the therapists and whoever I've talked to, it's entirely based in trauma and stress related, and it's turning my hair white, and it just keeps popping up. I always dye my hair over, and I like shave the sides down, and I do whatever I can to distract from it. But I got a haircut 3 days ago. I re-dyed my hair like 3 days ago. Last night, it was like 3 a.m. I'm looking in the mirror, and I realized that within that time, half of my head is already popping up with like more gray hair, and it's just something in me that is so stressed out and absorbed by this, and I don't know how to get out of that. And I'm trying, and I'm going to keep trying, and there's more after this, and I know that there has to be some sort of next chapter to my life, even if it was the end of hers, and if that's where like her book kind of closed, mine is still being written and keeps going, and everybody's is still being written and keeps going. I mean, everybody listening to this, you're still continuing on. You still are going to go through hardships. Everybody's going to go through something really difficult in their life, or already has, or will multiple times. I'm sure this isn't the last time that I'll face tragedy in my life, or loss, or anything. As with anybody, I might be the next one. You never know. I could walk outside my house and get hit by a fucking bread truck, and are there even bread trucks anymore? Whatever. Dead sayings. But, no pun intended on the dead thing, but it's like, it's just any one of us could be, like, today could be your last day in existence, and tomorrow could be. It could be next week, next year, 10 years from now, whatever. Whenever it is, we are only here for such a small amount of time. And I know that's such like a cliche, and that's still like driven into people's heads, and they don't want to hear that all the time. They're just like, you don't think that. You never think that when somebody's like, you're only here for a small amount of time. You're like, no, because life's the longest thing you're ever going to experience. But it's like, you really are here for a short amount of time. Even if you're here for 120 years, even if scientists extend the lifespan of humans to 5,000 years long, that's still the shortest amount of time that you're going to be here. You're not here forever, and compared to forever, that's a very short amount of time. So it sucks when things like this happen that just drive a complete wedge between you and like a comfort with your own existence and with your own life and your own being, and to try to have to spend time finding your way back to that through this like maze of just anger and distrust with the world. And it's almost like my life and my timeline of my life was like had its body snatched by a completely different storyline, and like, or like the writers of my last life got fucking fired and replaced with really shitty ones, and they're like, oh, we're gonna make this appeal to the masses now and the youths, and we're gonna add some drama in here, and it's just being written really poorly, and I'm not really figuring out. I mean, it's like my life essentially has jumped the gun completely. My life has essentially jumped the shark completely, and it's like, I don't know when it's gonna get back on track. I mean, I'm mad at it. I'm not entirely mad at it. Like, I'm meeting new people. I'm moving forward in my life, and I'm going to be experiencing things, and I hope that someday something picks up and that I can feel more fulfilled in my life, but I don't know. Anyways, I think that's a lot of rambling for today. I'm not even sure if I'm going to post this publicly. I might just do it unlisted and stuff, but it was important that I said a lot of it. I hope that anybody that's listening is having a really good day and a good week, and if you're not, I'm sorry, and it's gonna improve. At some point something is going to get better, and something's gonna look up no matter what, and I guess that's all you can really do, is just keep waiting for that. I'm still waiting for it, but I know that at some point it'll probably come. What day is it? Tuesday? Monday, Tuesday, Sunday. I don't know what your time zone is, but it's like Monday for me. So happy Monday. Maybe not happy Monday. That's kind of an oxymoron, but that's okay. All right. Well, that's I think that's all that I kind of have on my mind today. Maybe I'll do one of these again. It's kind of like lengthy, one-shot, podcasty feeling thing. I don't know. Not even a podcast. This isn't a podcast, but still, it's whatever. It's I don't know if I'm even, like I said, I probably won't even post this. It probably won't even be public on my channel. That's all, though. Have a good rest of your day and a good rest of your week, and I'm thinking about you out there. If you're having a rough time, or if you're not having a rough time, you can keep in your mind that I'm thinking about you, and that you have somebody that's keeping you in their thoughts. Keep your head up. It's the least that we can all do right now.